Hey amigos, espero que les vaya de lujo, pasen, acomódense y vamos a disfrutar del show. Hoy reaccionaremos al tráiler del Trickster en Dogma 2, vamos a ver qué tal está, vamos a echarle un ojo y vamos a ver qué tal pinta esta nueva clase del Dogma. Vale, bueno, nueva clase, ya estaba en el 1, pero digo nueva clase que nos han mostrado.
Dragon's Dogma 2
Que ya lo estaba
offers a
viendo.
wide variety of playstyles
Vale.
depending on what vocation
Wow,
you select.
es
Most of these
se
are the
ve
kinds
muy,
of
muy
archetypes
bien, la
that you'd
verdad.
expect. Melee sword fighter,
En
speedy
parte le
dagger
tengo
wielding
bastantes
thief,
ganas.
ranged archer,
Salen varias
and
cosas el mismo día,
spell-slinging
pero le
mage.
tengo,
And some are hybrid
le tengo
vocations
ganas.
like Mystic Spearhand
Okay.
and Magic Archer that combine elements of one vocation with another for a completely new style of play. But what of the Trickster vocation? It was revealed as part of the Dragon's Dogma 2 showcase back in November, but little has been shown of this unique class beyond that quick 45-second look and a short description on the Dragon's Dogma 2 website. Fortunately, as part of our visit to Capcom, we got to sit down and play with the Trickster for about an hour, and I can confidently say that this is a style of gameplay unlike anything I've ever seen in open world
pero se ve
action.
muy bien para lo que era el primero y como han mejorado para este. La verdad es que muy bien, muy bien.
To start, the Trickster is essentially a pacifist. Their chosen weapon, a ceremonial censer, does little to no damage when it's swung at an enemy. Instead, the purpose of attacking is to build up aggro and pull an enemy's attention towards you. To that end, you also have a special ability called Suffocating Shroud that sends out your smoke in a wide area and draws a large amount of enemy attention towards you. So, the question is, why would you want to get a whole group of enemies swarming on you if you can't actually damage them? Ah, see, that's where the word Trickster comes into play. By using the Trickster's unique skill, Effigial Incense, you create a simulacrum, or a clone, for simplicity's sake, that enemies will perceive as the real you. This clone has its own health bar and will disappear if it's killed, but you can also teleport the clone to you while it's still alive with the press of a button. This way, you can basically kite enemies to wherever you want, as long as you keep their aggro and keep your clone alive. So, you can maneuver a foe to gain an environmental advantage, which is super important because the Trickster shines the brightest when there are cliffs, uneven surfaces, or other elements of the environment that can be used to your advantage. The Trickster has two abilities designed around creating surfaces that aren't really there, but appear real to enemies. The first, Tricky Terrace, creates a cloud that can be placed off a ledge that the enemy will perceive as real solid ground. And the second, Elusive Divider, will create a wall of smoke that you can see through, but the enemy cannot. The final piece of this puzzle is the Visitant Aura, a technique that essentially allows you to make an astral projection that you can freely move around to scout the landscape for as long as your stamina will allow. You're super vulnerable while controlling the projection, so using Elusive Divider to give yourself some cover while using it in the heat of battle is a good idea. Crucially, you can float off ledges, ascend or descend at will, and even call your clone to wherever your projection currently is. I'm sure you can probably see why that might be useful. When you combine all of these tricks together, the real value of the Trickster comes into view. Before getting into a combat encounter, you can create a clone with Effigial Incense, use Visitant Aura to scout out an area for enemies and look for any sort of environmental hazards, like a cliff for instance, recall your clone so that others over said environmental hazard, place a false floor underneath it with terrace, then lure enemies close to the clone and use Suffocating Shroud to send all their aggro towards the clone, and then watch with glee as enemies throw themselves off the ledge in effort to get at you.
Claro, por eso lo estaba pensando, digo, estoy viendo lo que está haciendo con la habilidad, pero digo, ¿qué finalidad tiene?
Now, obviously, this is a lot of prep to go through, and it isn't going to be practical in every single situation, which is why the Trickster is also equipped with some other tricks up their sleeves. First and foremost, they are a support class, relying on and substantially buffing the strength of their pawn party so that they can do most of the heavy lifting. One such buff is Aromatic Resurgence, which supercharges your party, making them hit a lot harder. While I was playing for gameplay capture reasons, I had to make a mental note not to use this buff because my pawns would kill all of my foes before I got a chance to show off any of the more technical tricks of the vocation. The most powerful spell I saw of the Tricksters was Dragon's Delusion, which takes some time to cast, but brings forth an illusion of a dragon that terrifies any enemy that sees it, even large ogres, bringing them down to their knees, giving your pawns
hiciera cosas, ya las está haciendo, joder.
Since most of the Trickster's
Me
other
ha callado la
spells
boca,
seem
ya no
well
digo
suited
nada.
for dealing with small to mid-sized enemies, this was a really nice addition to see as
Y las
something that
habilidades
can
esas
also
de
let
mago
you
en
deal
su
with bigger
momento no
and
las
badder
vimos.
enemies.
Pero la verdad es que se
Trickster
ven
was
bastante
not an
frescas.
easy vocation to figure out in just an hour's time. It took me a little while to fully grasp the aggro system, avoiding pulling too much aggro and not having a way to get away from the enemies I just attracted, but once it clicked, I found it to be a uniquely satisfying vocation that brought to mind one of the core tenets of Devil May Cry's combat. It's not just about
Me
killing
hace mucha gracia
every enemy in
eso.
the room,
Esta
but how
animación,
you kill every
este
enemy in the
clip,
room.
que ya lo
It's
han
an
puesto varias veces,
intentionally
me
underpowered
parece
vocation
muy
that's
curioso.
designed to encourage creative thinking to solve difficult combat
Se
problems
sienta y
in
dice,
ways
bueno,
beyond just swinging
yo
a
ya sé
weapon
que
or
tan a
throwing a
gusto.
tornado at it.
Pero
And it's one that
como
I'm very
hemos
excited
dicho,
to experiment
pon el
more
señuelo
with
ahí,
once I've got my hands on the full
pon el
game.
señuelo en el aire,
Thanks for
entonces
watching,
como
and
van
this
a
is
atacar al
just the
señuelo,
beginning of
todos
our
los bichos
IGN
se
first
caen.
coverage of Dragon's Dogma 2. In case you missed it, make sure to check out our 18 minutes of gameplay covering 4 of the vocations, and for everything else, give it a ear on IGN.
Vale, no está nada mal, la verdad. Ya sabéis que cualquier opinión, comentario, lo que sea que os ocurra, en la caja de comentarios sois todos bienvenidos siempre y cuando sea con respeto y educación. Estamos aquí para pasar un buen rato, como viendo ver siempre. Ya sabéis también que podéis suscribiros, que es completamente gratuito, y ayudáis al canal a que crezca y que podamos llegar cada vez más lejos. Que se agradece un montón todo lo que aportáis, los comentarios, el apoyo y todo lo que aportáis al canal, que ya lo he dicho 2 veces y la estoy liando, y sin más me despido. Gracias por su paciencia, gracias por su apoyo y nos vemos en otro vídeo. Hasta otra, chao chao.